Hi guys, I'm Vicky. I'm the social media ambassador for Syrinscape, and this is another episode of Team Talks, where we aim to take you behind the scenes at Syrinscape and let you get to know us on a more personal level. Today I'm talking to Ben Loomes, who is the CEO, founder and creative director here at Syrinscape. If you followed us for any length of time, you'll already recognise him and know loads about him. But today we're talking specifically about music, about his background in music, how Syrinscape was created. We'll also be talking about what he's been working on recently and his goals for the future. So let's dive straight in. We're going to chat about something that you know a lot about, but I don't know a lot about. We're going to talk about music. You're a very musical person. I am not a very musical person. So tell me a little bit about your background in music and how you started and what your early influences were.
Yes. Well, when I was 5, my brother started piano lessons, and this is actually serious. And he came home and he was playing like the very little basic beginner piano things, and I was just like, "Whoa, that's so amazing!" And I was like, "I want to be able to do that." And so I took up piano and was like very, very quickly better than him by quite a long shot. So much that he gave up. And then stupid piano. So I was a little piano student for obviously all through my youth, and then I did all my sort of grade levels and all that sort of thing in piano, and started composing like when I was kind of like 10, writing piano pieces and things, and doing a little bit of kind of that kind of sort of slightly weird prodigy piano performing composer little freak, put him on a piano stool and never goes, oh my gosh. And so I did a bit of that sort of thing, and then I did really well at music at high school, and actually we have a thing called the higher school certificate, the HSC, and I came like ranked 3rd in the state in that, and got into the big feature concert and all that. And then I did it's actually video footage of me being interviewed about what we were going to do when we grow up, and I said, "Oh, my parents probably want me to have a desk job or something boring, but I'm going to be a mad musician."
Wow,
I said in my classic young flamboyant way. And so I went and did composition at the University of Sydney.
Nice.
With amazing Australian composers, Peter Sculthorpe and Anne Boyd. And that was pretty amazing. And kind of I always tell people this, the weirdest thing about my composition degree is that I'm earning any kind of money at all from it. Because I mean, like fine arts, composers sort of find it difficult to find regular work that's not just tutoring or whatever. And I was also singing a lot at the time. So I sang at high school and was in the choir, complete music nerd. It was wonderful. And so then I actually was studying classical voice as well, and sang extra chorus with Opera Australia, and then small roles with smaller companies, like Pinchcott Opera and other things like that. So kind of was going to be an opera singer for quite a while there. And all the while doing amazing arts projects. There was an amazing art project called What Opera, where a team would go into a high school, and we would basically help the kids there write dramatic sung work from scratch, and they had complete creative control. So if they wanted to write it about a pencil case where the protractor fell in love with the sharpener, then they could. Or if they wanted to make it some sort of terrible, really dark sort of teenagey angst thing, or if they just wanted to make it about kind of robot wars or whatever, they did. And then we would help them write that, and then 4 schools would come at the end of the project into like a professional theatre with professional lighting and professional sound and perform their operas.
That's really
That was amazing. So so I was doing lots and lots of different, a typical kind of highly varied career of a musician, including writing operas and staging operas, and lots of accompanying, and then obviously singing, teaching, and piano teaching like musicians do. So all sorts of things. That was rather comprehensive, wasn't it?
No, that's awesome. That's great. That's a great background in music, and you definitely did end up being a mad music nerd, like for real.
Yeah, I really haven't had a real job ever in my life yet, so I'm sort of waiting for that to happen.
No, I kind of feel like I'm very much there with you. I can't do a boring job. I love like having weird, quirky, creative jobs, and every time I get a new job, people are like, "Oh, that's so you." Like, I know.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So I always assume that you play loads of instruments.
I do.
Yes.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned piano there, and I'm like,
yeah, that's right. So piano was the main instruments. I do. So I played cello quite a lot at high school. So I'm quite a reasonable cellist. If my son heard me say that, he'd be laughing. He's like an actually genuinely amazing cellist. I play sort of all the recorders and things. There's lots of recorder playing of me in Syrinscape, and I play a lot of guitar as
So
well.
you
So that's
drive
kind of
Karen mad with your recorders then. You drive everyone crazy with them.
so I play guitars and ukuleles and things like that. So that's a very, very useful. Everyone should be able to play guitar, and at least, sorry, every group of friends should have at least one person who can sit and pick out the chords and patterns of
I've
kind
never
of your
had
favorite pop
that.
songs. They can all sing along. Yeah,
I sing along. I've
find
never
someone.
had anyone who can
Yeah,
just strum along or anything like that.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
really good. And yeah, so I can play a lot of my electric guitar solos. Yeah, sort of me on guitar, sort of faking it in a major way.
Rock it out.
And probably, I think that's mostly the instruments I play. Yeah,
Yeah.
sort of anything really.
But
I
what's
don't do
your like
brass instruments.
what's your favorite instrument? Like either one that you play or just one that you like the
Yeah,
sound of. Like what's your
the
favorite?
voice, singing, absolutely. Yeah. So
Mm.
so I really absolutely love the sensation of singing well. So I've done a lot of, yeah, sort of oratorio singing. So singing the tenor solo in Messiah
Mm.
and the operatic stuff. I really, really,
Mm.
absolutely love the sensation of relaxing, opening up, and creating a very, very beautiful sound. I have a very, very high voice, so very quite a high, fluid, buoyant tenor voice. Another thing that makes my son laugh at me because he has a gorgeous, big, deep baritone voice. So it wasn't very, very, didn't have to get very far into puberty at all until he sounded quite a lot more manly than his father, which is,
It's
yeah,
crazy with
very
teenage
cool.
boys, their voice just changes
Mm.
so
Yeah, yeah,
dramatically. It's such a dramatic
yeah,
change.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
There's quite a lot of samples of Eldon in Syrinscape. So redneck hobo ogres in the beginning of Burnt. Oh, anyway, Rise of the Rune Lord somewhere. And he's like, oh no, watch out! He's like, oh, sorry, Dad, I can't give it. No, no, keep going. I keep
Perfect.
recording it. It's fantastic. Oh, yeah. Breaking voices are a wealth of potential because you've got a voice that's changing like every couple of weeks. You've got a different sound. It was a
Yeah,
very, very special time.
amazing.
But yes,
It's
so voice.
a very special time that I've
Yeah,
recorded for
it is.
Syrinscape for all eternity for everyone to hear.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh.
So
Yeah,
talking about
absolutely.
so talk about Syrinscape. Where
Mm,
how did that idea even come about? Like where did that spark of inspiration
yeah.
come to create
Yeah.
music for tabletop role playing games? Where did that
Yeah.
come
Well,
from?
I mean, I was yeah playing lots of D&D. It was D&D 3.5. Yeah, 3.5. I played Redbox when I was really, really young and came back to it kind of like in my mid-20s or something, late 20s maybe.
Mm.
And we were playing, yeah, and it just honestly seemed really weird to sit at the table in silence. I mean, you've seen, hopefully, anyone go and search it out, clips of how you can change and color a movie scene by just changing the music background to it, or in fact, watch a horror movie without any sound on at all, and it looks very
I
quickly very kind of
tell
lame
you
and
what,
weak and awkward.
I've actually done that. I have actually. There's clips on YouTube and stuff where you can watch
Mm,
scenes from a movie, like really dramatic scenes from a movie,
mm,
but it's
mm.
just the dialogue. There's no
Yeah,
background sound
yeah,
or audio
yeah,
or anything. It's just the dialogue,
yeah,
but it's
yeah,
weird.
yeah,
Suddenly, like really
yeah,
scary scenes or intense scenes
yeah.
become like really bland and boring.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we were playing. It just seemed, as a musician and an expressive person, it just seemed strange to me to play in silence. So I tried using some movie soundtracks and things like that, and they never follow the contour that you want. They always say, if you think Lord of the Rings, right? There's
Mm.
the scene leaving Rivendell with the Fellowship, and the music builds for like 15 minutes until it finally leads up to them cresting over that mountain. You get that slow
Mm.
motion of them walking over the top. And if you're trying to have kind of a general fantasy scene where they're still negotiating with the tavern owner about how much the healing potions are, and like, why don't they just buy
And
them?
suddenly you've got this
And then
crescendo.
suddenly da, 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 da. It's like, yeah, so you need kind of control, you need more control. So I started recording my own music and some ambiences as well. And I was recording kind of 15-minute tracks and then just putting them on loop on CD, in fact.
Mm.
And that's all very well, but then you quickly start to notice the repetitions. And I tell this in all interviews. There was literally this time at the table with my friends where there was a certain pattern which was like sort of poof, poof, oh,
Oh yeah.
kind of thing. And yeah, literally the table stopped after like the seventh time it had gone round, and they all just stopped, and in unison they would just go, poof, poof, oh. So there was the sound like breaking immersion rather than kind of rather than actually creating it, because it was taking them out, making them aware that they were listening to artificial sounds and sort of losing all that kind of subliminal effect. So then I started trying to make longer and longer tracks, and I'm dragging in samples and trying to scatter them, and you kind of get bored, and so you just copy a bunch and move them somewhere else. And you're like, well, now I've broken the point of getting variation. And so and it occurred to me that a computer would be quite good at picking up a sample and playing it at a random time, and then waiting a randomized amount of time, and then playing it again. And you could break that in all sort of layers and things. And I was an amateur programmer, and I picked up Python, had some really, really good audio libraries, and I wrote a version of something to play some sounds for myself, and was using it at my own table. And then I shared that as shareware, and it became sort of quite popular and supported. And then people started asking for a proper version that sort of could actually do real software things, and they wanted to buy more content. And that's when we started looking at Syrinscape becoming an actual company, which was very weird and surreal for little musician me.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So what were the early days of Syrinscape like then? What were some of the first things that you created for that, and what was that process like?
That's right.
How did it all become what it is now?
Yeah. So two of the first sound sets ever are called Witchwood and Bugbear Battle, which are two of the sound sets that are free now. And the original Syrinscape that I wrote, the samples didn't have randomized positioning or randomized distance. The panning and the distance balance, everything was burnt into the actual sample itself. And so, and Syrinscape would just play it back. When we rewrote Syrinscape in Unity using Unity Java, we actually then we dried out all the samples completely. And so all the samples are actually unaffected completely. They're just, an ogre or a dog at a microphone. And the samples are then distributed in a random direction, put at a random distance, and then the amount of reverb that's appropriate for that distance is applied. So if you imagine if you're in a cathedral and someone claps their hand, you get very little actual dry clap and just a big wash of whoosh. And if they're standing right next to you, you get a really big loud clap and a sort of only a moderate amount of shh. And so Syrinscape does all that. And now the interesting reason that I call them Witchwood and Bugbear Battle is the opening combat scene in a certain module, and then the really important forest in a certain module is the first opening combat's Bugbear Battle, and the forest is called Witchwood. And that's Red Hand of Doom, which was written by James Jacobs and I can't remember the other person. Yes, anyway, insert intelligent response.
I'm useless.
And
I don't know.
Jacobs is the only one that I really care about, because I met him years later, and it's like definitely my favorite module in the whole wide world, because it uses a really kind of beautiful open storytelling, kind of sandboxy kind of way of doing an adventure. And you can really just insert your characters into this veil and let them wander around and do what pretty much they want. Some choices of which end up catastrophic, and some end up better. And so I made those two sound sets as a kind of homage to that fantastic module. And then like years later at Gen Con, I'm like was waiting to have a co-interview with him.
Wow.
I kind of did that kind of like geek out doggy, oh my god, I love your stuff. So that's really, really cool. And I wrote music tracks as well for those, obviously. Sort of composed full orchestral kind of big epic fantasy kind of combat scenes for Bugbear Battle. So it's kind of Lord of the Ringsy kind of sound. So it works. Yeah.
Have you got a favorite sound set in Syrinscape? Either you've created or that someone else has created that you're like in awe of? Have you got a favorite?
Like choosing between my children.
I'm sorry. Really put you on the spot here.
Probably my favorite one I didn't make is Temple of the Healing Hand, which is made up of bits and chunks of various different people's work. It's mainly Barry Dublay's work. Fantastic environment, super, super rich and full of lots and lots of atmosphere. Just go and check it out if you haven't listened to it and you're watching this. The sort of resurrection rituals music is just amazing. And you can you approach the temple in a kind of a fairly epic way, and then you get in, there's this amazing atmosphere with people sort of plain chanting and things in the background. And then you get ushered in, if you're lucky, into kind of the private quarters. And then, the priest appears and there's music for that. And you can I love battle maps that inspire kind of a whole adventure scene or miniatures. You take a pile of miniatures and you get all ideas. And I can really use that sound set as an inspiration for me. And then probably one of my other favorite ones are the starships. The Starfinder starships are super cool.
You do love
Sometimes when I'm
those,
doing,
don't you?
I do
They're
love
so
those.
nerdy,
Yeah.
but you
Sometimes when
love
I'm doing
them.
when I'm doing like boring work or whatever, I like just go and sit on the deck of my starship
Yeah.
and do that. And it's really cool music. I'm quite proud of my music in that. Really, really epic, good stuff. And then probably the last one is the Avernus stuff, the Dungeons and
Oh,
Dragons
yeah, that is
Avernus
epic.
adventure.
Mm.
It's super, super rich. Some amazing voice acting from Carrie Sheltons and other really extraordinary people, and great music, and yeah, lots of stuff in there from me as well, which is super cool, including electric guitar licks driven just by my voice running through a guitar head, like,
That's
so it
crazy.
sounds like absolutely epic electric
It
guitar, but it's just me
does.
going. Oh, it's very, very
I
funny.
actually did not know that.
Yeah, have a listen.
I actually did not know that because I actually really like the
Yeah,
Avernus Links.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's really, really great.
wow. I'm sure that anyone else watching this, if like I know people that have been running that adventure with recently with those stats,
Mm-hmm.
I doubt that any of them would have known that it was
Mm-hmm.
just you powering it with your voice. That's wicked.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do with processing. The Red Dragon battle, which is another one of the free things in Syrinscape, is the Red Dragon voice is me, and that's also cool. Previously, we mentioned, yeah, me feeling not very manly compared to my son because of my high voice, but I'm very proud of that dragon voice because it sounds very, very meaty, and that's just literally me going. But it's like, effects which make it sound good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. God bless
Mm,
the
mm,
effects.
mm. Yes, that's right. I love you.
Yeah, whenever I've done like voices
Ah.
and stuff, I'm like, you can make this sound good, right? I'll
Oh
just
yeah,
give you all the
yeah,
raw files. You can definitely make this sound good, right?
absolutely.
It's funny that you should
Yeah.
mention the Red Dragon because
Mm,
I know that you've been working on something.
mm,
Do you want to talk a bit
absolutely.
about the remasterings
Yes.
and
Yeah.
why
That's
we've been
right.
doing them and what you've been doing with those?
Yeah. So both Bugbear Battle and Red Dragon Battle were made very, very, very early on in Sirenscape with what at the time was the kind of the top of the state of the art orchestral synthesis. They were composed, as full orchestral scores in Finale, which is like a notation software, and then imported into Cubase, and then add yeah, really gorgeous instruments applied, and the best reverb, and everything I knew about panning and everything like that.
Mhm.
Um, but I was listening to them recently, about a month ago, and yeah, genuinely compared to the stuff we've done more recently, like the stuff in Salvage Operation, and and the D&D stuff and the
Mm.
Starfinder music, they actually were sounding relatively long in the tooth. And look, this is the stuff we're giving away free in Sirenscape, and it wasn't just not showing the very, very best that music could be, and
Mm.
people weren't complaining, which is really lovely of people. But listening to it, I'm like, yeah, I reckon we could have another go at these.
Mm.
So yeah, I've remastered kind of 9 tracks or something, 9 full orchestral tracks and we're basically re-releasing the music in those sound sets. I've also composed 3 additional completely fresh tracks for those as well, which is
Mm.
super exciting. And yeah, that's been an amazing process. Opening, basically, yeah. Do you want me to tell you what I did?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I was just gonna ask, like, was that
Yeah,
nostalgic,
yeah,
like going back
yeah,
and opening those up
yeah.
again? Yeah, yeah. Tell
So
me all about it. Yeah, go for it.
so we basically opened up the original Cubase file. So Cubase is a sequencer, right? Cubase turns sort of MIDI keyboard strokes into sounds via synthesizers. Opened them up again, imported what's now the native instruments, symphonic series synths, which are amazing. Set up all those instruments, panned them out around amongst the orchestra, then did a complete re-performance of a lot of the lines. So you can control now in a modern orchestral synth the volume, but it's not just how loud it is. Actually, the player will change their timbre. So if you imagine a trumpet playing really, really loud and high
Mm.
compared
Mm.
to a trumpet playing really soft and high with a really sweet kind of pinched, reaching tone, or a horn blasting it, or a horn playing very, very beautifully. So you can actually control that timbre and the volume. You can also you can control the attack speed. So whether they go bang or wah. You can also control the vibrato speed. So you can have a flautist to play a note, da. you can control the width of the wobble and the speed of the wobble, and so you can actually go through and re-perform kind of that on every single instrument in the entire
Wow.
orchestra, and you just get a way more human kind of feel to it. It feels much more like a human playing. And the string synths, for instance, have completely separate samples for whether they're playing a long note or whether they're dabbing on the string or whether they're playing a staccato on a string or whether they're doing a tremolo. So you'll actually, rather than kind of trying to fake that by starting and stopping notes quickly or slowly, you actually just have completely different performance, and you can control that too. So really a high degree of control. So I've gone through and completely reperformed all of these tracks and then remixed them with definitely an improvement in my own knowledge in terms of mixing as well. Kind of how to place out that orchestra, make it sound more three-dimensional, more spread out. I gather there's some videos which you'll be sharing on social media of some of the comparisons where it flicks back and forwards between the different tracks. And look, there's not a huge difference because, they're great pieces and they were mixed quite well, but you should be able to, in particular, especially if you want to really feel that in it, don't listen on your phone. If you want to really feel, put on the headphones on your phone or headphones, and there's a real much bigger sense of width and depth. And although people can't necessarily tell you the technical reason why something is affecting them less or more, it subconsciously inevitably affects them less or more. Like I said, if you're hearing something unnatural, it takes you out of the drama. Whereas if you're hearing something that sounds really like you're really in an epic, Lord of the Ringsy type film, you get transported much more readily. And it just makes the load, everything to make the load on the Dungeon Master lighter and lighter and lighter. Music can tell you so much. Like, for instance, no one says, "Oh no, I think the protagonist is in trouble. Did you hear those trombones? They played a tritone." But everyone will understand whether even if they don't notice the trombones played at all, they'll still feel like in the same way, camera angles. If you get a shot and there's a camera angle, so there's a bit of bush in the way, and it's kind of clearly just a little bit handheld, and it's from a low angle, and it's kind of behind the protagonist. Then it's instant. We all know how to interpret that. That's not going to end well. So yeah,
and you know as well, like when it gets really claustrophobic, and you're just like, oh my god, we can actually feel that. Or when they leave like a really big open gap, and you're like, something's gonna pop out. Something's gonna pop out. Something's gonna appear in the window. Yeah. I just know it.
Yeah, that's right.
I just know it.
And then
you cover your eyes.
You ready yourself. That's right. You ready yourself for the jump.
Boyfriend, you can't close your eyes. You've got to tell me what's happening.
Yeah, that's right.
But no, that sense of dread that the music invokes, that is my favorite. Like when
there's horror things where you have, like, if you have a really high sound and you have a really low sound in a music track, but all that human register where human voices is completely missing, it just like inevitably makes people feel really uneasy. And that's what Syrinscape's about.
That's my favorite. I love it. Yeah. When my players suddenly go, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, do we really want to go that way?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. You do.
Totally.
you
do.
That's
right.
That's great. Absolutely great. So we've talked about loads of stuff, loads of epic stuff. There's really only one more thing that I'm wondering, like, do you have any like future goals either for Syrinscape or for yourself with your music?
One of my big dreams would be to have actual. I mean, the modern synthesis of orchestras is amazing, and I would also love to have actual live orchestral performances. So computer games, once they get to a certain budget size, can do that, and that would be super cool. And I have had various different sort of mid to sort of higher level amateur orchestras perform my music, which is always wonderful. But I would love to have the budgets in Syrinscape to go into a proper big recording studio and get a scratch orchestra in and record the 5 tracks that we're launching or whatever with a new chapter of Syrinscape. That would be super fun. So it's one of my big dreams, definitely. And composition wise, absolutely. I'm always working on my own. I have a serious composition career as well. I'm published as a composer. I do a lot of writing. I sort of specialize in solo works and sonatas and things like that of a standard that's really great for kind of high school graduation level performances. So I get quite a lot of commissions from school. So that's really lovely. So in fact, tomorrow morning I'm performing for a girl's HSC, her high school certificate
Yeah.
performance, end of school performance, and she's performing a work that I wrote specifically for her.
That's so cool.
The kids at this school all submit like a video of them playing, and she just played so beautifully on the. I'm like, I want to write for that clarinet. That's so amazing. So I wrote a piece, that really suited her. It doesn't have lots of staccato runs because her tongue just doesn't do that, because it doesn't go da 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 da. So it's got all the lyrical beauty and everything. So it's spreading out my music more and more. It's really, really exciting, and just developing Syrinscape. We're working hard every day to make Syrinscape easier to start, easier to get the sound going, and obviously always producing awesome content.
We are always working hard in the background,
Mm.
always trying to improve it. I think people don't realise we are a very small team, and we are constantly improving things.
Yes. Yeah, that's
and
right.
We're
Absolutely.
listening. We're listening as well.
Yeah, it's great to have made some real strides in search. We've got the search beta is going really, really well. So we'll be opening that up a little bit wider very soon. There's some sort of indexing things we have to improve to make it even more responsive. So that's really, really made a huge difference. If you want to see our team, if you want to see the people who work on this company, go to search Syrinscape Team, and you'll find the page on our website, and that's us. We're a gaming company. We're little and agile and passionate, and always working to improve. So thank you for your feedback, especially when it's positive and encouraging and has a tinge of humour or mockery. It's always appreciated since I'm Australian.
We do love a bit of humour, and we always appreciate the nice stuff. So, but we forgot to mention we're all nerds as well. We're all absolute nerds.
Massive nerds.
Massive nerds.
Absolute nerds. Absolute nerds.
That's what makes us the best.
Totally.
So just before we wrap up, because I do actually need to get some work done.
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to say about music or Syrinscape, or anything else you want to share while we're having a chat?
I think now is the time, if you've been using Syrinscape at your game, to spread the word. I think let's get out there on a platform, especially like Reddit. A company doesn't have the license to go on Reddit and spruik your own stuff and say this and that. You get very pushed back on very, very quickly. So if you have opinions about Syrinscape, what Syrinscape's done for your game, if it's increased your immersion, now is the time to spread that word and to really help other people discover this as well. There was a time when people thought that music at the gaming table was a radical concept that would ruin it. But that's not the case anymore. Everyone is using music at the table. And I believe passionately that a thing like Syrinscape that reduces the cognitive load on the dungeon master in a huge way and takes care of a lot of that setting of the ambience in a way that that allows them to concentrate on the gameplay and the storytelling and on their friends is really seriously important and useful. So tell your friends about us, tell your enemies about us, and spread the word, and let's build the Syrinscape community and build the support base that everyone has for us, so that we can do even more exciting things, so we can grow our team, develop the apps faster, and use full orchestral recordings. Let's put a peg in today, and let's see how long it takes till Syrinscape's actually able to not synthesize our orchestras anymore, but use the real thing, which would be amazing. That'll be another remaster.
Epic. That would be epic.
Yeah.
And when that happens, I'll have you on again and we'll chat again.
Yeah, okay, good. That's great.
That's good. Excellent. Well, thanks very much for your time today, Ben. That's wicked. I really enjoyed that.
It's been lovely.
Yeah, no worries.
Been
I'll
wonderful.
see you next time.
Yep, awesome.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Don't say poo or bum.
No, we can get all of that out now.
Poo. Poo bum. You can make a smash cut of just me saying poo.